let's take a look at our top selections.
Hi, everyone. The feature race on Saturday at Santa Anita is the $100,000 Pasadena Stakes, 3-year-olds at a mile on grass. And this is a stakes race that kind of sits out in nowhere land. It doesn't really lead to anything. It's kind of the conclusion of the season for newly turned 3-year-olds on grass. I say that because the next 3-year-old grass stakes, unrestricted, in Southern California is not until April 25th, the $100,000 Singletary Stakes. There could be an allowance race between now and the Singletary to kind of fill in the gap. But the Pasadena Stakes kind of stands alone as just an ordinary race for 3-year-olds long on grass. And the significance of this race is somewhat minimal. However, there definitely are exceptions. And in fact, it was 3 years ago that a very good import from Europe scored the first stakes win of his career in the Pasadena Stakes. He was trained by Jeff Mullins, and he entered the Pasadena Stakes off a one other than allowance win. Let's roll the tape for the 2018 Pasadena Stakes. And on the far outside, you'll see a pretty good racehorse by the name of River Boyne rolling down the middle of the course to win going away. This is the Pasadena Stakes in 2018. And the first stakes win of River Boyne's career. And River Boyne would go on to distinguish himself as one of the top grass milers in Southern California. He won a grade 1. He won a pair of grade 2s. He won a pair of grade 3s. He finished his career having won 9 of 25 and earning $1.2 million. So even though we think that the Pasadena Stakes might have minimal significance, 3 years ago, River Boyne that was his entry into the elite, and he went on to have an outstanding career. All right, let's take a look at the field of 6 that enter this year's Pasadena Stakes. I don't know that there are any superstars in this field. I don't know that there are not either. Favoritism is going to be either number 2, Cathkin Peak, or number 5, Rock Your World. And we'll talk about those in just a minute. But one of the more interesting horses in the field, we haven't seen him since he laid an egg in the grade 2 Los Alamitos Futurity, and I'm referring to number 3, Red Flag. Red Flag, trained by John Sheriffs. Ricky Gonzalez will be aboard this guy, and he bombed last time out in the grade 2 Los Al Futurity. I would give him a pass for that race. He did not have a good trip. He never looked comfortable down on the inside, kind of fighting with Espinoza all the way. Did not appear to enjoy getting dirt kicked into his face, and he just ran poorly. But his 2 previous starts suggested that he might be a pretty good 3-year-old for the year 2021. Let's first look at his maiden win. It was on grass in a sprint race at Santa Anita, and then we'll follow up by taking a look at what he did in his very next start. That's Red Flag, who took the overland route in this maiden sprint. He lost so much ground into the lane, he had no right to win this race. This was his second career start, and he won it anyway. And he would come right back 1 month later, switching to dirt down at Del Mar in the grade 3 Bob Hope. And he made a mockery of the field, winning by more than 7 lengths. This is a 2-year-old then that looked like he might be on his way. He's on his wrong lead. He's a little bit green, but he won by 7 lengths. And based on this performance, he looked like the horse to beat in the Los Al Futurity. Well, as I said earlier, he did not have a good trip, and he ran poorly, and he finished 4th as the odds-on favorite. This is his first start, Red Flag's first start in the Pasadena since the Los Al Futurity in the middle of December. And whether you like him or not, he does influence the pace scenario because he is one of 4 front runners and or pace pressers in this field. And that's one reason why I ultimately settled on kind of the standard selection in this field, a come from behind her who's already proven around 2 turns, and he already is a stakes horse. And that is number 2, Cathkin Peak. Cathkin Peak finished 4th in his debut last year over in Europe, and he was purchased privately with the idea that he would be the type of horse that would appreciate firm ground in California. Many of those European horses who just don't get into that, don't get over the soft, wet ground in Europe, often do improve in California on Fast and Firm. He arrived at trainer Phil D'Amato's stable in September, and D'Amato did not expect him to even make his U.S. debut until late December, but he came around quickly, Cathkin Peak did, and he won his U.S. debut in a maiden race, and then he followed up in the $80,000 Eddie Logan Stakes on December 27th at Santa Anita, from a maiden race into a stakes race, and Cathkin Peak, well, he took care of business. He won by a length over Commander Kai, and it was a good, solid win, and his now 2 for 2 in the U.S., Cathkin Peak, for the red-hot stable of Phil D'Amato. Flavian Pratt was aboard, and he will be back aboard on Saturday. Cathkin Peak, to me, is the horse to beat in a race that should unfold at a fast clip. Cathkin Peak is a come from behinder. We have at least 4 front runners: Mac Daddy 2, Red Flag, Commander Kai, and Rock Your World. So the pace should be legitimate. Again, this is a little bit tougher field for Cathkin Peak than the field that he defeated last time out. The horse that he defeated, Commander Kai, came back to finish 6th. He's actually back in the Pasadena. The 3rd place finisher came back to finish 2nd in a sprint race. And the 4th place finisher, Big Fish, did come back to win the Cal Cup Derby. So there are at least some indications that Cathkin Peak defeated an okay field. I think the competition increases on Saturday in the Pasadena. And one reason I say that is due to the presence of Rock Your World. Rock Your World made his career debut on January 1st at Santa Anita. This is a horse, a very well-bred horse, bred by Hall of Fame trainer Ron McAnally and his wife Debbie. They ran Rock Your World through the sale, and it was Ronus Racing and Michael Tala who bought the horse, the son of Candy Ride, for $650,000. In his career debut on January 1st, he was favored at 2-1 based on a series of solid workouts. And at the time, the Sadler stable was in an absolute funk. They could not buy a win. But Rock Your World kind of righted the ship for the Sadler group. And let's take a look at his debut win. January 1st at Santa Anita, he pressed the pace 3 wide. He kicked to the lead in the lane, and from here, it's all over. Joao Rosario was aboard Rock Your World, and in deep stretch, Rosario pretty much wrapped up. He took a look over his right shoulder, said there's no reason to get into this colt. Let's just save something for next time. Next time is Saturday, 6 weeks later in the Pasadena Stakes. Rosario is riding on Saturday at Oaklawn, and Umberto Rispoli picks up the mount on Rock Your World. Rock Your World can win the Pasadena if he can ration his speed, and he'll have every chance to do that because he's drawn outside his 3 pace rivals, those being Mac Daddy 2, Red Flag, and Commander Kai. So if Rock Your World can ration his speed and avoid getting into a duel, he'll get first jump on Cathkin Peak, and maybe he can defeat the more accomplished Cathkin Peak. I had a very difficult time separating the 2 favorites in this race, Rock Your World and Cathkin Peak. Ultimately, I took the conventional selection because Cathkin Peak is more seasoned, proven around 2 turns, with a closing style and a little bit more foundation. But Rock Your World might be a very, very good horse. And we're going to find out more about Rock Your World and Cathkin Peak, my top selection in the Pasadena Stakes. It's race number 8 on Saturday at Santa Anita.